On April 17th, Chiron, asteroid of wounding and healing, moves into the sign of Aries, the warrior. Chiron, a 50-year cycle, when in Aries, reflects incendiary times with the remnants of battles lost, of traversing and subjugation of other cultures, and advances in biotech and brain science, whether good or bad. Chiron in Aries speaks to the warrior who has lost the battle and comes home defeated. In the last Chiron in Aries cycle in 1977, we saw the disillusionment and disdain aimed at Vietnam veterans who came home to be ostracized even further. In our current times, there is a sense of great loss of power amongst both the older and younger generations, particularly men. The frustration and anger can be channeled into hate groups such as white supremacists, motorcycle gangs, or militias. All such groups suffer a sense of disenfranchisement or outsider status in the culture at large. Of course, it may not actually be true in relation to minorities and women, but the self-conscious inchoate ego identifies with being marginalized. The anger should be at the establishment, not the actual disenfranchised. But Aries, the will to be and to power, does not have a lot of patience nor self-reflection. Hence, whomever appears to be their enemy instantly becomes one. The rage of the masculine will be evident in increased tribalization, racism, and sexism, but acting out will not solve the pain. Dealing with the wound, insecurity, and lack of acknowledgement is the way out. Chiron was discovered in 1977 during a time when psychoanalysis and therapy were gaining ground. As Aries deals with the brain and head, the forays into psychology were helping people to get their heads on straight. Trump's ability to rile up many white men was due to the fact that they have been traumatized by job loss, addiction, family disintegration, and lack of opportunity, but in the majority of cases have not done any therapy or psychological work. This is one place to start if we are to unite and heal as a nation. Those individuals who have Chiron and Aries natally may display the imbalance around anger from either repression to extreme chronic rage or tempers. If connected to their sun or moon, their father or mother had anger issues and they were frequently the target of parental rage. If you are approaching 50, you are having your Chiron return, and this is the time to take ownership of your feelings and your existence. You no longer have to people please, repress your needs, fit in, or deny your opinion. And while Chiron in Aries is battle scars, the individual with Chiron in Aries may not stand up for themselves, or even if they do, are rejected even further. So the ability to express one's needs is oftentimes compromised. Chiron is the victim and the perpetrator who himself was victimized. The inability to express one's truth in a healthy or safe way is emblematic of this archetype. Like with any outer planetary ingress, there can oftentimes be an event that provides the flavor or context of what wants to be worked through, either in one's personal life or in the society at large. With so much uncertainty in the world and the feeling that we are on the verge of collapse, there can be a quick trigger event as a release of tension. It can take the form of increased violence and police repression, military acceleration, empire building, corporate aggression, and in science, a desperate seeking for anti-aging and immortality cures. Plastic surgery became more developed in the 1970s and has continued unabated to monstrous proportions in current times. The main trauma of Aries is war, and this takes many forms and affects both the perpetrators and victims of needless greed or power-induced conflicts. While the cost to victims is incalculable, the soldiers of war are also damaged, not only in the physical plane, where modern medicine allows fighters to survive unspeakable head wounds, brain damage, and trauma, but likewise, the emotional and psychological toll to military families is enormous and debilitating. While perhaps unconscious of its archetypal meaning, the Veterans Assistance Organization Wounded Warrior is a perfect embodiment of Chiron in Aries. The ingress occurs right between the stations of Mercury direct and Saturn retrograde. Saturn in past lives is the career soldier, the man worn down by meaningless but horrifying service. At some point, he would have had to dissociate from any feelings whatsoever, especially considering the visceral mutilation he would have experienced in primitive or historical conflict. As we have all been all races, sexes, and genders, we all carry the trauma of war, and perhaps this generation we can globally decide this is no longer a viable option. The madness of war is the madness of unconscious man. We can no longer countenance such atrocities to human nature. How can we become whole? It is by embracing and integrating the masculine and the feminine. It is in believing that we matter and that we are all united and have value as children of God. And if we need to express some vintage form of masculinity with technology, can we not simply relegate war to the world of virtual reality? Like Civil War enactments and gladiator matches and fantasy football. It is the purview of evil, greedy men, the most emotionally damaged, to perpetuate the war mentality. It is time to reconsider and redefine the masculine archetype altogether. We have been forced to swallow the definition of masculine as predator and destroyer. The higher version of the masculine is protector and builder. Instead of focusing on self-aggrandizement and domination, the divine masculine would operate from the wisdom of the heart. Chiron in the sign of Mars Aries can suggest more release of pent-up rage, some of it justifiable as in the case of rape or war victims, but likewise sudden breaks and breakthroughs. Perhaps we will find the courage to leave a bad relationship or job or repressive social organization. Aries, the first sign of the zodiac, means you can be born again and new, with a different, more authentic personality and make positive choices that reflect the real you. Fireworks and breakage are the order of the day, yet underneath is the power of your life force energy. So welcome the disruptions as they bring on a new life. I'm Med Astrologer Patrice Kamens.